And this is, my name is Dr. Douglas Husbands. I'm a functional medicine doctor practicing here in the Bay Area locally. And we're introducing Silicon Valley Health Institute Smart Life Forum. Silicon Valley Health Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our mission is to provide credible health education to the public with emphasis on optimal wellness, anti-aging, and longevity. And this evening, we are going to have a well-known, world-renowned speaker, Dr. Aristo Vajdani, right? Vajdani, thank you. Okay. And he's going to be speaking about how environmental factors induce autoimmune disorders. We're going to have a short period of time, about the next 15 minutes, where we're going to be opening up for a forum for everyone that is here and for the audience to think about. This is live streaming and this will be recorded also. But we're going to start with some thoughtful discussion regarding some of the research articles that I pulled up related to Dr. Vajdani's talk. One of the things I came across this week was an article that was from Autoimmune Reviews. The title is Changes in Intestinal Tight Junction Permeability Associated with Industrial Food Additives Explain the Rising Incidence of Autoimmune Disease. That was the title. And it was very interesting and applicable to many of us because what they looked at is that the intestinal epithelial barrier with its intercellular tight junctions controls the equilibrium between tolerance and immunity to non-self antigens. As a result, particular attention is being placed on the role of tight junction dysfunction in the pathogenesis of autoimmune disease. Tight junction leakage is enhanced by many luminal components commonly used industrial food additives being some of them. And what this article looked at, they looked at how glucose affects the tight junctions, salt, emulsifiers, organic solvents, gluten, microbial transglutaminase, nanoparticles, and went into the details of these substances. So another article that I came across that is very, I'm sure we're going to be discussing, but this was from 2009 Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, Identification of Human Zonulin, Physiological Modulator of Tight Junctions as Prehaptoglobin 2. This gets pretty technical, so I won't go into it right now, but does anybody have anything to share regarding intestinal membrane permeability?
Translate that.
Okay, all right. Okay. Basically, that zonulin being one of the proteins that is involved in the tight junctions, it basically downregulates it makes the gut more leaky when you have a lot of zonulin, essentially. And this article discussed that there is a precursor to zonulin called prehaptoglobin 2 that has particular effects that are precursors to the activation of zonulin. And so what I do want to do, just kind of to warm up your thinking, has anyone come across other helpful, useful information regarding intestinal membrane permeability? Steve, yes. Sorry, I'm getting warmed up too.
In my talk last month when I was discussing issues of the vagus nerve and parasympathetic tone in people, I mentioned that just being sympathetically activated and stressed from that does cause the gut to leak in a fairly rapid time frame. And so that's a very simple aspect of digestive function is, don't eat when you're anxious and nervous and running around, and don't digest under the same circumstances.
Hey, Doug, I don't have a comment. I just have a question. Now, if I understand the problem about permeability of the intestinal wall, it's the junction between the cells and the distance, how wide that junction is, or how, it's like the grout or whatever, the interstitial.
Right. That's you can have paracellular translocation from the gut lumen through the epithelial, those columnar epithelial cells, and then right under that you've got the blood vessels, and then when things leak through there, that's when you can have. But you can also have transcellular dislocation, where actually things get through the cells, tear up that columnar epithelial cell. Things can actually get through those cells. And one of the ways you can check this is with the Cyrex Array 2, either paracellular or transcellular dislocation of luminal properties that should not necessarily get through that. And
so these things, the wrong things get through, and then the body responds to them, the immune system responds to them as alien and things that shouldn't be there, and then you have problems, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, and you're saying that Zonulin is the zonulin. How do you spell it?
Zonulin.
Zonulin. Okay. And that's kind of the thing that tightens up the junctures between the cells.
When you have upregulated zonulin, then that actually attenuates the tight junctions.
Oh, it attenuates it. So you don't want to have it.
Occludin is correct, Doctor. Occludin is the protein that tends to keep the junctions tight.
Occludin and zonulin together. There are many. There are 7, 8 different. There are 7 to 8 different proteins that we call them tight junction proteins. Occludin is one of them. Zonulin. There is vinculin, and there are actomyosin, actin. There are many of those that play a role in keeping the tight junctions in a healthy state. However, Dr. Husbands is right that when we have inflammation in the gut and occludin and zonulin get overactivated, the overactivation of zonulin occludin causes release of all kind of mediators which can break down the tight junctions, and now the tight junctions will be open for entry of unwanted or undigested proteins or peptides into the submucosa and then into the circulation.
This is the translation for those of us who don't know all these technical terms, like me. Now, so now then the bottom line is, what do we take in order to maintain this balance of biochemicals or these molecules that are important, and like how do we keep our gut healthy, right? And that's probably what Mr. Vajjani is going to talk about today. And okay, just want to make sure I understood.
For the topic of the role of Candida in permeability, how well studied is that these days? How well documented scientifically is that?
Your question again, the role of Candida in intestinal membrane permeability? From some of the studies that I'm familiar From some of the studies that I'm familiar with, Candida definitely can damage the epithelial cells and influence, that is, decrease, make the intestinal membrane more permeable. In other words, things can leak through easier. That's in a nutshell. So. That is also a big factor. So on this topic, in the next 5 minutes, I want to also open it up for any questions, additional questions, and anybody. Yes.
I'd like to add one aspect of gut permeability, and that is that it really doesn't matter what the infection is. If you have an inflammatory process going on in your body, a chronic infection, viral, bacterial, fungal, parasitical, some kind of hypersensitivity reaction, food allergies, chemical reactions that induce an inflammatory response in the body, one of the body's mechanisms in defense of that kind of situation is that 3 minerals get sequestered and one of the amino acids gets burned up. So when the body goes into an inflammatory mode, zinc becomes sequestered by the liver. It gets tied up and hidden by the liver because zinc is a potential growth factor for some kind of infectious process. And so that process of withdrawing zinc as a bioavailable nutrient also has a fundamental effect of loosening up the tight junction gaps. So whether you have a candida imbalance, you're eating a food that you're allergic to, you're not breaking down your gluten, all of that can play a role in aggravating a leaky gut.
Now we've got discussion.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Vajdani for being here first and foremost. And I wanted to find out, once a patient has gone into an autoimmune disease, is there the prospect that they can actually reverse things and reverse the mechanism and come out of the autoimmunity?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was diagnosed with a leaky gut about 29 years ago. I happened to go work for a company in Mountain View called Mast Immunosystems. It was founded by Dr. Vincent Marinkovich. And he was lecturing one day and he was describing people these problems. I said, that sounds like me. And so he tested me for IgG food, because my IgE panel on foods said I was normal, and he tested me for IgG, and he said, well, you're one of the worst people I've ever seen. And he said, and about 3 or 4 years prior to having all these seemingly unrelated symptoms, I had taken several rounds of antibiotics, which he explained killed off the good bacteria, which kept the Candida yeast in check, but gave it a chance to grow and invade the lining of my tissue, which helped to make it leaky, which in turn caused the food allergies.
Right, right. And there's a lot of research, especially with the Human Microbiome Project going on right now, regarding the microflora diversity. In general, the greater the diversity of the microflora, the healthier one tends to be. And when you take something like antibiotics or even topical steroid creams or steroid inhalers, you're going to greatly disrupt that, not only the diversity, but the abundance of the microflora. And I see this all the time. Those are the types of things that are precursors to some other seemingly unassociated disease, just as you say, being set up. Lots of times what I see is, and I'm sure a lot of other clinicians of us here also, is even going back into early childhood, even in the womb, the mother may have had some exposure to some type of disruptor of the microflora, and thereby have these disease processes going in play years and years and years. And later on, they seemingly get some disease process that is unexplainable. But when you go back with the history, you see the progression of these disease processes due to the diversity and the abundance of the microflora being disrupted. Yes.
Just a comment about one other cause of the gut permeability can be head trauma. You know, it can be an instant onset almost. And it's interesting, maybe persons involved in a car wreck or something, they're recovering from that, and then immediately after, their life unwinds, and it's just from the leaky gut piece due to the head trauma.
Yeah, yeah, very true. Very true.
There's so many things that can cause a leaky gut. I mean, maybe a Big Mac can cause it. Stress, as Steve was alluding to. So many different things, and it's endless. Inflammation, oxidative stress. I mean, in the newsletter, there's an article, and it's got about 20 causes. I mean, just about anything that goes wrong can result in a leaky gut.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
How do you not have a leaky gut?
Stay tuned. Yeah. Yeah. And with that, if we had more time, this could, as you can see, I'll allow one. A question, comment?
Address it.
Okay.
It's not just about us being able to manage it, but children. I mean, I can already see to my kids they've got something going on, so how can we address that?
And this is a good time to introduce Dr. Vajdani. Just a note about some things as far as if everyone has signed in. Anyone here, and for the audience, the membership to join Silicon Valley Health Institute is $60 a year for 12 meetings. So that's a massive amount of $5 per meeting. If you're coming as a guest, it's $10 per meeting. So as we are a nonprofit organization, it would be appreciated, and those watching tonight, to join us as a member of Silicon Valley Health Institute. So I just want to put that plug in there.